Howdy folks, welcome to Katie Phillips Scrapbook Designs. I'm Katie and this is my little crafty nook. And today we're going to work on the album cover for a wedding album that I'm designing for a colleague. I still have a little bit of postnasal drip, so this is mostly going to be a fast forward video, but I will put all the measurements in the lower thirds down here, and I will include links to anything that is still available for purchase at Amazon or scrapbook.com in the description box down below, as well as links to the other videos for this series. And the pattern paper that we're using for this album is the Wedding Bliss collection by Echo Park. Just like the last video, I'm actually going to go ahead and do a voiceover for this and let y'all know what the mat dimensions are. So for the back mat, the larger mat is 7 7/8 inches squared, and the smaller mat is 7 3/4 inches squared. This floral pattern paper that I'm using here, this is one of the extra sheets that I got from scrapbook.com when I placed an order because I was running out of pattern paper from the collection. And I saved this particular paper because it's got the gold foiling on it, and it was the only paper that I had that had the gold foiling on it, and I wanted to use it on the cover so that it would make the cover pop a little bit more. The spine mats, the larger one is 2 3/8 by 7 7/8, and the smaller one overall is 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I was running out of pattern paper, so I was using scraps, and I used this Wedded Bliss from the die cut page to hide where those two scraps, the seam is, and that ended up being the title for the album. The mat for the front cover is 7 3/4 inches squared because the cover is 8 by 8 inches squared. So these mats, the larger mats are 7 7/8 by 3 15/16, and the smaller ones are 7 3/4 by 3 7/8. And the reason for the odd measurements is because on the inside, they're going to go right up to the very edge of the gatefold so that they kind of meet together. And in order to save pattern paper, I opted not to mat the inside of the gatefold. When aligning these mats, or when attaching these mats, you want to make sure that you're able to maintain that alignment so that the pattern looks like it's lined up from one page or one gatefold flap to the other. So this mat is, I think, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. I'm not sure, but there's a 110-pound piece of cardstock that's going to go underneath, and it's just a little bit smaller than 4 by 6. And then there's a 4 by 6 cut apart that's going to go on top of this whole thing. And for some reason, my camera cut out. I was not paying attention, so I'm very sorry that I didn't get the rest of assembling that front piece together. But you'll be able to see it in the next video with the decoration. Okay, this piece here is that mat, or that flap is 7 1/2 by 8. I chose a slightly smaller piece to go inside that flap. It is 7 3/4 inches tall, and looks like it's about 3 inches wide. And I am taking a piece of just plain cardstock and inserting it into the pocket just so that it's easier to get the inserts in and out. The mat here is, this pocket is about 4 inches wide by 7 3/4 inches tall, maybe about 4 1/2. It's just wide enough that it's going to slide into that pocket and fit in there nicely. This mat is 3 3/4 by 7 3/4. And for that tip-in, the mat is 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then I put a 3x4 card over the top of it, and I'm going to put a 3x4 card over the top of the magnet on the back side. The mat for the back is 7 3/4 inches squared, and the mats for the triangular pieces up the top, those were a bit of a challenge. The best way that I found to do it is to take a piece of paper that is 8 1/4 inches squared and then cut along the diagonal so that you have 2 triangles that are about 12 inches wide and well, they're almost 12 inches wide, and I forget exactly how tall they are. And then you'll cut 1 7/8 inches off from each side, and then you'll cut it so that the center line is roughly 5 inches tall. What I ended up doing is taking a pencil and outlining where I wanted the cuts and then copying it over. This mat is 7 1/2 inches by 5 inches. And it was at about this moment that I realized I could just cut the diagonal. And this is actually very similar to what I did to create this pocket, but it had been about 5 weeks since I did the pocket. So I marked where I wanted the cuts with a pencil, but that total length or total width from that long edge to the point is roughly 5 inches. And now I'm going to take a pencil and outline where I want to make the cuts on the rest of the pieces. And you need a total of 6 of these to get everything matted and looking good. Well, you need 5 at the solid cardstock and 1 pattern paper. I was not paying attention to the direction that the bouquet was facing when I marked that out. If I had been paying attention, I probably would have flipped it over and cut it the other direction. And here I've just realized that I need 3 more pieces like this. pocket turned out really cute. The idea behind it is, you know, when you have your wedding, there's a lot of memorabilia that you end up collecting along the way, and I thought this pocket would be a nice place to store some of the smaller memorabilia that would fit in there, like wedding invitations and the wedding program and stuff like that. And it was a little bit of a challenge to figure out how I was going to cut all the different flaps, but I do really like the way that this came together. That's going to do it for today's album, or today's video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I do new videos twice a week, and any materials that are still available for sale will be linked in the description box down below, as will previous videos for this album. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.